It's time for To the Max Sports, where we talk about sports. They're just two guys, Max and Drew, in a bar talking all things sports. Well, without the bar. And the beer. Wait, why aren't we in the bar?
He averaged over 26 points a game. He was a 12-time All-Star, including a MVP in one of the All-Star games. He was in the MVP running and finished second twice, was in the top five a total of 3 times for a total of 5. And he was the only player that Jerry West said, I would pay to see the man play. George, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, George.
How you doing, man? Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
How's your golf game?
Ain't bad. I mean, I still get up and down. I mean, and, you know, if you play golf, that's what you want to be able to do. Well, you're not going to hit all the greens. So you get up and down. To me, that's a great par, you know. So I still love the game.
Well, I know you had a pretty nasty game. Is that coming in?
Yeah.
I know you had a pretty good game when we played. So you're playing out at the TPC now?
I do. That hard golf course there. I played the Oaks. The Oaks is, man, what a golf course. It's hard to play, fun to play, but it's a nice club to, that I joined, and I have fun. I miss my Santerra group. I used to have a lot of fun there. I have a lot of history with that Santerra, but I moved on, and now I'm playing at TPC, and I enjoy it.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know what the TPC is, that's where the Valero Open's held, and I've played that course, and let me tell you, you can hit a ball in the center of the green there, and you don't know where it's going to end up. Yeah. It's like hitting a ball in an ice rink. Yeah,
it's tough, man. It's a tough golf course, but.
Well, I remember when the few times we played, you had a group of guys, Rogers over here, and they used to like to chatter and get in your head. and I said, the man's heard that trash talk. Be quiet while he's putting. So actually, when everyone was quiet, you missed a couple, but I had to get them to quiet down.
Well, I was built to compete.
That's right.
So, and being able to compete on a, high level, it do make a difference when you're in a position to where you got to do something. Mm-hmm. You kind of train, kind of like you guys, you have military background.
Yes, sir.
So you was trained for certain things to be able to do it when it's called for. So it's the same concept.
Yeah. Well, let's retrace that. So you were born in Detroit, Ohio. I was down the road on Detroit, Michigan, rather. Mm-hmm. I came from the Dayton area, Piqua, Ohio. So when did you first discover basketball? How old were you?
Oh, wow.
When you first I
had 2 brothers, man, ahead of me that played all the time. Uh-huh. So, I knew about the game.
So did you kind of follow them around?
Yeah, I kind
You're trying to
followed
tag
them
along?
guys, man. We were stair steps and as far as ages. So, but I didn't really take it in until I was probably 13, 14 when I started playing, quite a bit.
So I remember back in the day when, that's all we did was kids, just play basketball from, dusk to dawn. And everyone had that park near the house. Do you remember that park?
Yeah. I lived on Field Street in the inner city of Detroit, and there was a playground right down the street, and at an old elementary school, and that's where we would all play every day. It's every day we would play. So in the snow and winter time, It didn't matter. We still played.
It was probably the funnest during the summer, wasn't it? Those hot summer nights when you're out there playing.
Yeah.
I go home every once in a while and I drive by the old park.
Yeah.
It's empty now. Yeah. If you close your eyes, you can still smell the barbecue. You got all those guys out there playing. And back then, I'm sure you can attest to this. I mean, you had the little local legends. And when you were in the playground playing with the older kids and guys, some of the adults get out, man, they played for keeps. I mean, you wanted to build that best team because you were going to stay on the court if your team was Winning, did you have that?
Growing up, in playgrounds, playground was short-lived, and we played in a place that's called Franklin Sullivan on the east side of Detroit, and that's where, most of the guys would end up going. I remember that more on a competition level, and my two oldest brothers played there, and, if you didn't win, you didn't play for the rest of the day.
That's right. So you had to put together a good team, right?
Yeah.
You had a cousin, right? Ralph Simpson?
Ralph Simpson wasn't my cousin, but Ralph is, one of the greatest basketball players, I think, that come out of the PSL, PSL Public School League. He played with Spencer Haywood. Spencer Haywood obviously was he's a Hall of Famer, and he come out of that era. They was a little bit before me.
Yeah.
They played more against my oldest brother.
Older brothers?
Mm-hmm. So that's how I got familiar with them two gentlemen.
So I've always said, talking heads can always assess a player's ability and he's this or that, but the gold standard is what your peers say. So I want to run a couple things by you, get your thoughts on it. And Jerry West, he said, you're the only guy he would pay to see play. Why do you think he said that?
Wow, he must appreciate how I played, and the effort that I put into the game. Being as great as he was, we all know he knew how to play, and he was one of the best to ever play, especially at the position he played. And to get a compliment like that, I never forgot he said it after all these years. Mm-hmm. So I was, real. Proud that he felt that way about my game.
Yeah. More than one NBA player that you played with also said, if I had to start a pickup game, my first player would be Iceman.
You're talking about Magic Johnson.
Who would be your second? Iceman. So why do you think he said that?
Well, again,
that's your style of play. And
they knew I loved it. I worked at it, and I was very skilled, being able to do the things that I wanted to do on the court, and it didn't matter who was guarding me. So I knew Magic since he was 14. So I saw Magic come up as a kid. So he was one of them kids that, kind of looked up to me and how I played, and hopefully that inspired him to do the things that he did and was able to accomplish all the things he did.
Well, being your size, we'll talk about it later. You kind of set the gold standard for people your height that could play the guard position. I know you credit Bob Bass for that. But, you're 13, 14 years old, and then a gentleman named Mr. Winters comes into your life, right?
Mr. Winters, a janitor at Martin Luther King, where I went to school.
Tell me a little bit how he played a role in your life.
Well, Mr. Winters, he was smart just like I was, in the sense of being able to take care of my responsibility and give me an opportunity to practice. I used to love to practice, so I used to practice after practice, and he had to sweep the gym, clean up the gym. So he used to always tell me, George, you can shoot all you want, but you have to sweep the gym after you finish. So I did. And then I had a friend of mine named Bobby Chapman, man. I never forget it, man. Bobby Chapman has always liked to play with me and against me. Mm-hmm. So I told Bobby, if you want to come play, man, you got to sweep the gym.
You learn quick, right?
So he came in, he swept the gym after I started shooting. But at Mr. Winters, man, I really never got a chance to thank him like I wanted to, man, in person, because he passed, but he played a significant part in my young life, and I wanted to, to thank him for giving me that opportunity.
So you're 5'8" sophomore, and then you sprout up in your senior year. I believe you lead your high school to the state title, don't you?
Well, we didn't win it. But
you're in it? Yeah,
we was in it. We was in the, state finals. We lost the city championship, and them two separate championships. And unfortunately, I didn't win a championship when I was in high school, nor did I won one in college.
Well, after college, you had a a brief stint, actually with the legendary Jerry Tarkanian, but that was kind of short-lived. Were you just homesick or not ready for the big move?
Yeah, I never been anywhere. I mean, we're talking about a kid that grew up in the inner city of Detroit.
No California dreaming, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was different, you know, and then that Santa Ana winds came in, and, you know, I knew nothing about the Santa Ana winds, and that wind just kept blowing and blowing, and I called my mom and said, Mom, I don't know what's going on, but I'm ready to come back home. So, I left. And,
and you
came home.
Went to Eastern Michigan?
Yeah, they was waiting on me.
So they were waiting on you. Spent a couple years yet there. So let me tell you, everything happens for a reason. When you're in Eastern Michigan, you had that incident, very uncharacteristic of the Iceman, but you let a guy get under your skin.
Man, it changed my life, man.
Tell me a little bit about that.
When we played and we was playing, we would pick to win that year, the conference and win the championship. But, Jay Picola, who played for Roanoke, we're talking about the 70s.
Right.
And we're talking about being in an area of the country that, was, felt was racist. And the referees was awful, and we were playing and he was holding me and grabbing me and I got him off of me. I got him off of me in a way that at the time, that's how I was raised. I was raised to defend myself. And I hit him and I knocked him out. And it changed my whole life.
Yeah, but with every dark cloud comes many blessings. So at that point, I guess it's safe to assume you're kind of off the team. Is that when you kind of embark on this CBA? Was it the CBA journey?
Well, I could have stayed in school, but they was telling me that I might not could play the following year. So for me, I went to school to play basketball.
Yeah.
And not being able to play, I withdrew from school. And, I had to do something. So Roy White of Pontiac had the CBA team, and he asked me to come play for him. And he gave me $500 a weekend, and a car. It was kind of hard to turn down. So I started playing continental basketball for about 6 months.
Okay. So you're there, and then another life-changing event occurs, I believe. That's a scout named Johnny Kerr?
Yep, Johnny Red Kerr.
So
he saw me.
He saw you and said,
he said, man.
Like this young man's talent?
I was averaging about 38. And Johnny called his friend, which was Earl Foreman, who was with the Virginia Squires. And he said, you ought to take a look at this kid. And he flew me in and, told me to shoot around. And he signed me on the spot.
40 G's, right?
50 G's, man.
So that's a big difference from what, 500 to 50. You're probably like, oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, but it's, it was like you said, it was a life-changing experience. But you said also in the beginning, things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good happen when I knocked the kid out.
Right.
But it would put me on that journey. To become a young pro.
Wouldn't have happened without it.
Yeah.
So the Virginia signed you. You go off to them. Tell me a little bit about that new league and the excitement. And of course, you got to talk about Dr. J a little bit.
Well, the ABA was a great league, and thankfully for me that it was in existence because I was too young to go in the NBA. They wasn't taking hardship cases back then. So I only had one league that I could play in, and that was, the ABA. And fortunately for me, Dr. J was on that team. And, me and Dr. J, playing together, and him being who he was as far as, Mr. ABA, we all felt that, So that was, something special for me. He was a great man. I mean, he was a good human being, and, he worked with me and helped build up my self-esteem and confidence to let me know I was in the right place, that I could play, and, we're still friends today.
I read somewhere where a lot of times you'd go one-on-one with him, in the beginning, and most of the time he'd beat you. But I've always said, no matter what sport you play, I play pickleball now because I took your advice on golf. I took 2 weeks off and quit.
Oh, that was good. Yeah, that's good. I mean, golf a hard game. Golf is the only game I know make you want to cheat. So if you're going to cheat, you might well quit. So
you ain't trying if you ain't cheating in golf. I'm telling you. Man.
No,
but anyway,
that's good.
But yeah, my philosophy has always been, whatever I played, you'll never get better unless you play someone who's better than you at the time, and you recognize that. And I'll tell you what, man, to all you young kids out there, go pull up some Dr. J video. Mm-hmm. The man had moves that I still haven't seen to this day. The rock the baby one, and that one where he's palming the basketball down and then does that reverse flip layup.
That was great, man. I mean, but he was a better person than he was ball player.
Yeah.
I had that opportunity to see that, as a human being. What he did on the floor, he was able to do because of his work ethics. Mm-hmm. He worked at it. And then what he did for me, I'm a young kid coming in playing against a legend already. Mm-hmm. And so, I was respectful. I wasn't scared.
Yeah.
Because I could play. But I was very respectful to him. And we played pretty much after every practice. And then, sooner or later, I get my confidence. Mm-hmm. And that's what he wanted me to have. Yeah. And, boy, it just helped take me to that level that I needed to be, at that young age in my life. And I kept progressing. So, I owe a lot to him, man. But he's a good human being. And that's what I love about him most of all.
And then at some point then, you get tendered a contract from the Spurs, I believe. And rumor has you kind of went in hiding for a week. Were you just nervous about the whole deal?
No, that's how it worked. Earl Foreman sold my contract to the Spurs, and then he tried to renege. So what happened is that Spurs had to take him to court. So instead of me playing for either team and stuff, then Spurs, just said that we had your rights, and we're gonna take the Virginia to court, and they did. But in the meantime, I couldn't play at all. So I was in a hotel downtown at the Hilton Del Rio. That was what it was called back then, and I couldn't play for 3 or 4 weeks.
So when you got to San Antonio, were you thinking, my goodness, it's totally alien to any environment, Detroit or even Virginia for that matter,
Oh, man.
Were you ready to call mama again at that point?
No, man, I wanted to call somebody else. I tell you, it was unbelievable. I'm coming from, I'm a young African-American black kid. Mm-hmm. I'm around Hampton Institute, Norfolk State, Richmond University. So I'm around nothing but young black African-American girls. And then I come to San Antonio, they didn't even have a radio station that I like.
But they had a lot of pretty senoritas.
Yeah, but, I went into the senoritas, So, for me, I was in a foreign land. And, boy, I never did know, man, how this city would grab me and make me a part of it. Never could see that. Only thing I knew about San Antonio was the Alamo, and that was from history.
Yeah, right.
I didn't know anything else about San Antonio, man, but as time went by.
So was it tough for the first year, and then you started,
man, it was tough because I didn't have fun playing. We had Tom Nasaki was the coach, and he was one of them old school coaches that, didn't run. He called plays every time down. It was just so boring. And
especially coming from the ABA where it was run and gun.
Man, so, the first few years, like anything else, a job anybody take, you got to get used to it, get used to his environment. And it took me a while. Was
there any point early where you're like, man, I'm going to play this out and bold? Or after it got to a point, you're like, man, I love the city, I love the...
Well, after a period of time when they made the coaching change and Bob Bass took over, and then we started running and having fun. And
so another life-changing event, Bob Bass said, man, you're not a forward no more, you're a guard. And you're like, what?
Oh, yeah, it changed my life, man. It changed my career.
Speak about that a little bit.
Bob, man, he saw something that I didn't see. I was 180 80 pounds, and I was playing forward, playing against guys 230, 240, and you know, they were much bigger. So, you know, there wasn't nothing I could do against them physically.
Mm-hmm.
So Bob saw and said, look, I want to put you at guard. I said, I don't want to go to guard, man. I mean, I was just being divisive. And he said, well, I don't care what you want to do. I'm going to put you at guard. And he put me at guard. It made me the ball player that I have became, and it was career changing.
You had 3 scoring titles as a guard, right?
Yeah, I had 3. I had 3 in a row, and then I won another one after.
4.
Adrian Dantley beat me. I kind of didn't like that, and I said, let me get one more, and I ended up getting 4.
If you're gonna get beat, AD was, man, he was a baller for sure.
He was, man.
Well, speaking of balling, then during the 78-79 campaign to get one of those, I think David Thompson scored 63 some odd points.
David Thompson scored 73.
73.
You know,
so you go into that game, I believe, needing like 60 some odd points. 59?
No, you know, the time you're talking about is the last game of the season when I led the league in scoring, and I was leading all the way to the last game, and me and David was nick and tuck. And, you know, David had a big game in Detroit, my hometown. He scored 73. Mm-hmm. David played in the afternoon. Fortunately for me, I was playing that night.
Did you play that night?
We played New Orleans.
Okay.
And so we was in the big Superdome. And, you know, the press called me and said, well, you know, David scored 73, just took over the scoring lead. You need 59 in order to regain it. Okay. So I needed 59. And
I believe Doug Moe said, we're going to go out and let you try to get it. I believe.
Man. I mean, but, you know, you think about it. It was the relationship that my guys wanted me to have it. That was more for me. You know, that was everything. They were saying, yeah, come on, Ice, you know, we going to get you the ball, put you in the right spots, and, you know, we want you to get it. And I wouldn't have got it without that attitude.
Started off kind of rough, didn't it?
Yeah, missed the first 6. You know?
Rumor has it you said, man, guys that just forget about it. But they're like, no, we're and that probably gave you a lot of confidence that second go-around, those guys saying, no, Ice, you're getting this.
You know, Drew, humility is everything, you know, and I understood that, you know, and this was a big task for them guys to do that for me. Mm-hmm. So I said, man, we ain't got to do it. And them guys said, man, come on, Ice, you know, shake it off. And, you know, that's all I needed, you know. So I finished that quarter with 20, and in the next quarter I got 33. So I only needed 59. Well, we say I only needed, but
that's
that was my mentality back then. You know, that's what I could do, man. I could put the ball in the basket. And
so it's funny. I think Chamberlain had the record. Mm-hmm. Thompson broke it, his 16-year-old record. Thompson breaks it, and 4 or 5 hours later, you break his.
I mean, the fun part about it is to hear David talk about it, man. Oh, man, but, you know, I mean, it's just, but again, you know, he showed humility, you know, because he was saying he wasn't mad, you know, I mean, he understood. I mean, he felt that if anybody could do it, I could. Mm-hmm. I mean, man, what a story.
Yeah, man. And I would say yours was probably tougher just given the fact that if I'm New Orleans, I'm like, oh, no, you ain't getting this on our watch. We know what you're trying to do. So I'm sure that they were, you know.
They didn't want me to have it?
Yeah. You know what sucks is there's no videotape of either of those games. And I found out why the other day. Havlicek retired that day, and so all the press ran off to cover his. It's unbelievable. There's no video of either one of those games.
Oh, yeah, well, it don't matter.
But, you know, it still would have been cool.
Yeah, it don't matter. You know? I mean, that's how the world was back then.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, but you still talking about it today.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, you know, it still had an impact. You know, I won't never forget it. I mean, you know, it's going to be forgot. But a lot of people don't know what you just said about the reason why it wasn't covered. You know, because one of the great players of all time was retiring.
Yeah.
I respect that. I mean,
absolutely.
he was one of the best to do it, man. I got a chance to play against him before he retired, and he was special then, and he was, 30-something years old. So we all only can do it so long. I don't care what you say. You only can stay on top so long, and then you got to come down, and, that's what everybody going to be an ex-pro one day.
This is true. Well, I remember back in the day, I was a basketball nut watching the games. I'm from Ohio, and I become a Hawks fan because back then I could watch the Hawks every night. Ted Turner had TNT. Mm-hmm. So, I grew up watching John Drew and, and Tree Rollins.
Man, he could play.
And, the Tree Rollins, all those guys. And, it's kind of a shame that back then you couldn't see, I heard of the Iceman, see pictures and look at the box scores, but unless they were playing a Saturday game, or playing
a lot of our games, even in the playoffs, was tape delayed.
Yeah, sure were.
And there's so many guys that deserve to be recognized that don't because of, technology. I mean, that's everything.
Are you kind of glad you grew up when you did without all these social media stuff these kids have to go through now? And
oh man, are you
it's
kidding
gonna be
me?
tough for these kids nowadays.
The choices that I was making back then, you better believe it, man. I mean, people always say, man, don't you wish you had been playing during this time? I'd be saying, are you out your mind? Not at all. I mean, because see, they looking at the money. I'm looking at the technology. The game, being a celebrity or living that life ain't what it seems. Mm-hmm. It's more to it than what people see. People see you 2.5 hours. People don't see you when you get off the floor.
Yeah.
And if they did, they probably want to see you on the floor no more. See, people don't recognize that about the game, man. So that's the sad part about, for me, is how they look up to these men. They worship them. You don't know what that guy doing after he get off the court. I mean, it's really shameful, but again, we all looking for hope, and you hope you can find it in another man, but I know you can't. So,
yeah, sometimes you have to reach for that higher power, and we all got to get there at some point in our lives. I was, if it's any consolation, I wasn't an NBA player, but I sure was a knucklehead.
Hey, wasn't we all?
Ain't no doubt about that. Yeah. A kid that I'm really rooting for and praying he gets it together because he's probably one of the few NBA players right now that's like, reminds me of the 70, 80 players, and that's Ja Morant. That kid's got some mad hops, but he's kind of mixing it in with the wrong crowd.
It happens, man. I mean, I'm disappointed in not the league, but the Players Association. The Players Association need people like us to help guide these young men. Because what they doing and stuff, man, we done already done. I don't care what aspect that you look at it. I mean, it's the same game. I mean, it's the same environment that you played in. And I think we can be such a benefit to guys like that. Because, he lost, and like you said, preferably he be found. But, you look and his dad is just as much out there as he is. So where he going to get his direction from? So they need, people like ourselves, man, that experienced things, that went through things, and turned their life around, man. And, again, knowing that there's something greater than man that you should, direct your attention to.
Yeah, man, it's you need the old heads out there teaching these youngsters that, because, it may just take one word to resonate. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to this because you had a strong mom. I did too. My grandmother, I can still hear words to her day that she told me. I remember my grandmother laying on her deathbed and saying, Drew, I want you to promise me one thing. She goes, grow up a Christian, be a Christian. Man, I did everything I could to fight that for the longest time. But just little things like that you can teach these kids. And it doesn't have to be a parent. It can be anybody.
My mom
Those
gave
words
me,
are going to resonate, you know?
My mom gave me value, morals, and principles, and to live by. You know, them was the golden rules. You know, she always say, you know, treat people like you want to be treated, and you won't have too many issues. And, you know, just think about that, man. I mean, you treat people like you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's how I live my life. Man.
Well, I can personally attest to that because the few times I've been around you, people will come up to you, and you probably don't remember this, but you were at the Hyatt. This is probably 2004, 2005, Alpha 151, hitting golf balls. And I didn't know you at the time, and I see you down there, and I call my buddy. I said, you know, I'm like, first time, see, oh, George Gervin's down here. And I walked down there, and I said, could you tell my friend hi, you know? And you get on the phone, and you say, hi, Al, how you doing? And you didn't have to do that. You're playing golf. You could have said, man, can't you see I'm busy? But I remember one time you told me on the golf course, because people were coming up, and I'm thinking, man, does this guy ever have a bad day? And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do what you do. I really I'm out honest. And I remember you said, oh, Drew, just part of the job. And
man, think about it, man. You know, life is about relationship. You know, I love people. You know, I know a lot of people just, you know, love what I did and, you know, and want to compliment me, you know, on my play. You know, I feel bad if you come to me and, you know, and, you know, you're all smiles and you're all happy and you're saying, hey, how you doing? And I don't say nothing. I say, get away from me. That ain't in my pedigree.
Yeah.
You know, so again, that's the values, morals, and principles, and treat people like you want to be treated.
Well, I think you just answered your own question of how the city embraced you because you were so kind to the city and you've done so much work. And, you know, we can talk about some of those 80 teams. I mean, we know all that. And I know you spent some time in Europe. What was your experience like in Europe?
It was great, man. Only problem I had in Europe is that I went over there 190 and I came back 240. That was the only problem.
They got Mediterranean food over there.
That was the only problem I had.
So you're living in, wait a minute, you're living in San Antonio with tacos all over the place.
No,
skinny
man,
as a rail, and you get big over there?
Man, because I only play one day a week. Play every Sunday at 5 o'clock for 30 Sundays. That's what my schedule there. So all I did was ate pasta and rice and man, it's some of the best food, man, I ever had in my life, man. And so I played in Italy for a year. Then I left there and went to played in Spain. Mm-hmm. So, you know, having that European experience, I mean, for my children, you know, and my wife, I mean, it was everything.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's you know, it gave them a chance to see a different culture, you know, to see how people are basically the same. You know, I mean, they picked up the language real well early, you know, but, you know, you don't use it, you know, you lose it. But the experience, man, you know, it was just unbelievable. And, you know, and then for me, once I retired, I was able to come back and join the Spurs. And, you know, I've been with the Spurs ever since, man. Yeah. It's such a beautiful relationship.
The Spurs family.
You know, for me, what I do in the community, you know, it basically comes from me working in the community service office and see what they did in the community. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we was able to start my programs here in San Antonio. So,
well, I want to talk about your programs, but you're the only guy, I believe, that started your career with Doc J and ended it with MJ. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of that young bull, shall I say, you know, on the rise. Do you feel that he was kind of, you know, you were the old guy, but he didn't seem like the type that really wanted to kind of be taken under his wing. He kind of had his own little style, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he was different, and I wouldn't have got to do it. You know, I think it would have been done. It would have been somebody else. I think how I got there. And
do you feel they ever give you your propers, being like a elder statement with your bona fides already, or was he just doing his own thing?
I think he respect me. Mm-hmm. You know, I think he respect my talent as a you know, a basketball player. I think he had a different outlook, that he had things that he wanted to prove.
Yeah.
You know, and there wasn't nothing wrong with that. You know, he never disrespected me or anything. He just played hard, and, you know, he showed me it was time for me to go. You know,
well, you're not the only NBA player that said. I think Magic said that. And
he showed me it was time to go, man. I mean, because you only can stay on top so long. Yeah. You know, I've been in San Antonio. I was on top for 12 years. You know, then when I went there, it was his team. You know, it wasn't my team no more. You know, so I accepted that. He helped me retire. You know, come on, man. I mean, hey, man, this brother played so hard in practice. I was there like, hey, Mike, you know, just practice. He said, oh, that's all right, old man, go sit down. I said, okay, I'm going to go sit down. I loved him, though, man. I mean, he had something, man. I saw something in him that I never saw in nobody else.
A competitive streak?
His drive.
They said he would bet 2 ants crossing the table. I mean, his ant had to win.
Well, you know,
2 ants crossing the table.
You know, they're more.
Which I'm sure you appreciated that, though, too.
He's more of an addiction than anything else. You know, he had a desire. He had a drive to beat everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so I respected that from him. The game changed, man. The game changed. It evolves. It evolves from when I played. It evolves from when Oscar and them played, when I played, now when he played, and now again, you know, it's getting more popular.
Well, let me ask you this, because maybe I'm an old schooler. I just don't think basketball is it's just me, man, and tell me if I'm wrong. Back in your day, like you said, you called yourself a showman. You had the rivalries, and teams truly didn't like each other. Now you got these guys. I mean, Spurs scored 131 points the other night and lose by 20. And I'm like, come on, man. Is there any? It just doesn't seem like there's that competitive. Hey, I don't like this team. There's not that rivalry anymore. There's not that. Well, I hate to say it, kind of boring to me.
Get it in the playoffs. I mean, it's a lot of games. It's a lot of
playoffs
games.
Get better, but
I mean, the whole game has changed, Drew. It ain't played like it played when I played.
But do you think it's better?
Well, you know.
I don't get you in trouble. You don't have to answer.
No, all depends what you call better. I mean, it ain't the same how we play.
Name a fierce rivalry right now in the NBA. I can't.
No, But I could back in the 80s, and you had Philly and Celtics. You had the Celtics and Lakers. You had the Lakers. Them days are gone, buddy.
Yeah. The money now. The money changes everything.
Think about it. I'll give you a perfect example. It's like you start a business, okay, and it started to grow. You get a good foundation, so you start growing off of it. Everybody started making money. Everybody in the league now making money. You know, people talk about salaries. People talk about these guys making $200 million. Who paying them $200 million? How much they making? They pay $200 million. You know, I always say this, man. It's the wealthy guys paying the rich guys.
Yeah.
Everybody making money now. So now the product is out there. The product is there. It's established. You know, now they got to keep it going.
Yeah.
And they got nothing to do with basketball no more.
Protect it and do good things with it.
You keep it going, man. Come on, they getting $14 billion for television this year.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
crazy money.
It's the second most valuable, sports in the United States behind football.
Yeah.
Only behind football.
Well, I'm a part of that foundation. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna get no money from it. But I got some of the best health insurance, man, from the NBA, man, that a man can have in pro sports. That's more valuable than money, for a guy like me, 70-something years old. Yeah. I'm falling apart. So, you got to have a health insurance.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of the NBA, man. I'm so proud of what we accomplished. I'm proud of where they are today. I'm proud of these guys making all the money, I mean, that they can. And the league is global now.
Yeah, that's cool. That's all
I'm a part of that, man. I don't have, no regrets. How they it's their turn now. So how they handle it, that's their business.
Yeah.
So we're at a good place, man. As far as the game is. Now, you from the old school, so you ain't gonna watch it as much.
That's true.
But believe me,
these young kids are watching.
They watching it.
When I went to that Spurs game and they had John Morant, those kids were all wearing the jersey.
They watching it, man.
Yeah, they love it.
Jerseys still sell.
Yeah.
They worldwide they sell. So you was fortunate enough.
I'm a grumpy old man at this point.
Well,
yes, you are.
They all say we all grumpy, man, but you're not. You're a guy that loved that era that you watched basketball. It was more than just entertainment. It was the rivalry. It was guys that played hard all the time.
Mm-hmm.
These guys get a chance to sit out.
Yeah.
They say, well, we're going to rest him. Yeah. Man, could you imagine me
Cuban
getting
rested half his team the other night.
Man, but again, it's their turn, man. And, hey, do whatever you want, however you want it, man. Keep the game going. Ain't nothing I can do to it, man, but watch it. But I don't have to watch it because I got a TV I can turn off if I don't want to watch it.
Yeah, and my only problem with the current generation, it's this recency bias and not remembering folks like you, George, and the folks that played during your time and going, the current players, best of all time, blah, 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 and not remembering the majesty and the magic that you guys put on the court back in the day.
Well, who you would blame? You would blame the ones who own the league, not celebrating the history of the league. Yeah. These kids are so distracted with so many tools. Now, they can go back and look at us because, you got the technology. But the league don't sell that. The league ain't interested in that. And think about it like this, because if they compare some of these guys to some of the guys of yesterday, they're going to ask you, why you ain't talking about him? Because he ain't doing what he did. So, you got to be realistic. Yeah. You got to sell the product that you got.
That you got, yeah.
And that's what they're doing. I ain't mad at them. Yeah. I am
it makes sense.
So confident in my career. I don't care what nobody say. Because if you do analytics, that means you put me in a computer and you spit me out with my stats and all that, you'll be saying, oh, George Gervin could play. That's good enough for me. You know what I mean? I don't need nobody to tell me.
What do you say about the critics that say, well, yeah, he didn't play no defense?
I don't care.
He didn't want
I did what I would tell them. I said, I could score so well. They pay guys to guard my man and theirs. Hey, but they might say anything. See, but if they really dig and research, they would say George Gervin had more block shots than any guard in the history of the game. You see what I'm saying? See, you push whatever narrative you want, what I mean? But if you do what we don't do as humans, we don't research. We go with what somebody say, So if you research yourself and say, if that's true, you'll realize a lot of the things they say ain't really true.
Yep.
I mean, that's a stigma that I live with. Most of my girls, Gerv don't play no D. Dang, I play O though.
Yeah.
So, wanted to get into something because the measure of man, there's on the court, but the true measure of man is what he does off the court. And I want to talk about that, man, because you've been such a blessing to the community and just giving time for my little stupid podcast. I can't tell you how much it means to me, but talk about the things you're doing now, and the impact you're making on young kids' lives.
Well, Drew, that's what it's all about. I mean, we created an opportunity to educate. We create services. It's a lot of families that, we are able to, create opportunities for them. We started off, back in the late 80s, 90s, where we started with the George Gervin Youth Center, which was just a $150,000 budget in right off Broadway here, right down by the airport. We started a little, after-school program. One of the things I always wanted to do was give back to San Antonio, and I called my sister, Barbara Hawkins, to come down here and help me first with finance because she was an accountant, And then once she got down here, we wanted to create programs for children. You know, she wanted to do programs for adults, and I said I didn't want to do anything with adults. I wanted to, you know, create programs for children. Mm-hmm. So as time go by, we kept growing. You know, we kept extending, creating more programs, and then we created the charter school. You know, the George Gervin Academy. So I think the Academy now been going on about 30 years, Raj. 1988. Yeah, so we've been educating kids for a long time, and it's so inspiring for me to be in a community. I be at a restaurant, or I be at another school, and a parent come to me and say, you know, Mr. Gervin, I am so proud that you created that school because my kid graduated from there. My kid went to 5 different schools, and he didn't graduate, but when he came to your school, he graduated. For me, you know, that's better than money. You know, that's better than anything I did, is to be able to help put a kid on the right path, you know, to success. So I'm truly proud of what we've done. You know, we started building retirement homes for low income. We have 2 of them in the city, and we have 1 in Gonzales. You know, we created a board, you know, and Roger Martin is my chairman. I asked Roger to be my chairman. Roger, you've been my chairman now for, wow, we going on what, 15? 15 years.
Roger got you in golf, didn't he?
Yeah, Roger, you know, Roger helped with my game. Roger used to beat me all the time, man.
Oh, man.
Because Rod can putt and get up and down. I told you about putting to get up and down.
Think about Roger.
Yeah, man, but you know,
he beat me like I stole something from him.
The thing about Roger, man, he always cared.
Yeah.
You know, Roger used to always, he was title sponsor for my golf tournament to raise money for the school. He believed in what we were doing, you know, and when we had an opportunity to ask him to, you know, once our chairman died, we had 1 chairman there, Lindsay. And Lindsay died, and we were looking for a new chairman, and the first person I asked was Roger, and he accepted. You know, so for me, the board is everything, you know, and by him being the chairman, he helped keep us solid. Because anything we do, we got to go through the board for approval.
Yeah.
You know, so these are the things, man, that I always wanted to do. I got a great team to make it happen. I mentioned Barbara. Barbara is my brains. I say she the brains of that program, and I'm the brand. You know, They work well together, you know, and she can write a grant and get 100% every time she write one. She was trained real well. She had a love for that school, and was able to create all kind of programs for this school that still exists today. She retired now, and she's a state rep, you know,
awesome.
in up in Austin. So, you know, for us, she's been a jewel. You know, she put things in place, and you know now, you know, we're moving forward and changing lives. You know, the pandemic really had an impact on all the, you know, the educational facilities. But, you know, we starting to rise again and make a difference in the community.
Well, man, you sure have made a difference. And I'd say this is a life achievement, man. The things you're doing in our community and the outreach programs you have for young and old now. Mm-hmm. So I just thank you so much for coming and spending some time with us. You ever need to put out anything, come on, stop by. We can do that for you. And I just want to thank you again, man, for stopping by. Anything else to?
No, Drew, thank you, man. I mean, I appreciate the relationship we have. I appreciate this opportunity for y'all giving us to be able to more so talk about our experience with our community service. You know, over the 30-some years that we've been in existence, we was able to raise over $300 million to put in this community. So I'm real proud of it, and you know, that's my real trophy. It's my, my youth center and my school and the programs that we have here in San Antonio. So I'm proud of that.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. Guys, you can watch our podcast. We're on, you want to give all our venues, Bob?
Every place where you can get a good podcast.
YouTube, Spotify.
All the good places.
Apple. Spoken like a true naval officer. That's Brother Bob there.
I appreciate you, Bob.
Voice.
Thank you very much.
Well, everybody have a blessed day. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week on To the Max Sports. And again, OH. IO.
We're out.